Now, the cockroach is too big for the wasp to carry down into its burrow. But that's okay because the cockroach is hypnotized. So she grabs what's left of one of the antennas and, like a leash, just guides it down into her burrow. And the cockroach, unable to resist, just willingly marches along. So now they're down in her burrow, and she lays a single egg on one of the cockroach's legs. That's the last time the mom will see the baby. She leaves, seals the tomb, seals the cockroach in the tomb, and then, ironically, 3 days later, the egg hatches.
Is it invariably 3 days later?
Give or take.
Okay,
but pretty close.
Okay, yeah, sort of.
We'll
okay.
take the average just because it's
Yeah.
yeah.
Now, if you were to tell me that it always happened on Friday and then Sunday, I'd get a little worried.
Yeah.
All right.
Independent of the day of the week. So the larvae, just one little larvae now, hatched on the leg, starts eating the legs of the cockroach. The cockroach is still alive, by the way. Maybe it's hypnotized, maybe it's not feeling that, I don't know. But it's still alive. So the larvae is now feeding on the external anatomy of the cockroach, the legs, and then parts of, the rest of the body. And eventually, once the larvae is grown, this is probably a couple days later, burrows into the cockroach. Then proceeds to feed on the cockroach's insides. That eventually kills the cockroach. So now the larvae is developing inside this dead cockroach. It pupates, which means it kind of metamorphoses, and then emerges alien style out of the cockroach's corpse as a fully developed miniature wasp.
Ooh.
So the question is, why is that necessary? Like, that's very detailed. That's very precise, very elegant.
And
gratuitously cruel.
Inevitably, the way these wasps reproduce, right? I mean,
it is the only way that these wasps reproduce.
The only way.
Now, the host may be different,
right?
But for this species, it specializes in cockroaches. Other ones specialize in caterpillars. If you've ever tried raising monarch caterpillars in San Diego, we have another kind of parasitoid fly that functions similarly, and it's very hard to actually have your caterpillars turn into monarch butterflies because of this. It's kind of a similar thing.
Wow.
So Darwin could not get over this. How could God possibly design this creature? Why would that be? Here's another example. Lions.
You might want to give our stomachs a minute just to...
Oh, this one's not as bad.
Yeah.
Lions routinely engage in hostile takeovers of other prides. And so when the invading male ousts the alpha male from that pride, the first order of business is he systematically kills all of the nursing cubs in the pride. Because as long as those cubs are still alive and nursing, the females can't father the new male's offspring. So by killing all of the nursing cubs within a week or so, that brings the mother, the females, back into estrus so that they become receptive to the new male's mating, and then they father his offspring. Yeah, you've seen Lion King. You think Lion King's all Simba, Mufasa. No. It's more complicated. Okay. Here's another one. There's a bird. You've heard of blue-footed boobies. Yes? So there's another kind. It's called Nazca boobies. Nazca boobies always lay 2 eggs, 3-4 days apart. The one that was laid first is developed more. That's the one that hatches first. Right? By the time the second egg hatches, the first chick, has already gotten 3 or 4 days head start, so it's bigger, it's stronger, it's been feeding. As soon as that second chick hatches, the older sibling starts pecking it to death. This is in the nest with the mother. The mother watches and does nothing. This always happens. Always 2 eggs. The second sibling is always killed. Siblicide, right? The lions, it was infanticide. Now, scientifically, the explanation is that, well, the younger chick, the second egg, is basically an insurance policy for the mother. Right? Because why would you bother having a second? Why would you just put all of your resources into one egg? Right? Why go through this whole process of having the older chick peck to death the younger one? The second egg is an insurance policy in case the first egg is somehow, I don't know, there's some kind of problem with the chick and it doesn't develop properly. At least you gotta, if it's not strong enough to peck the younger one to death, at least the younger one can grow up and probably then peck the older one to death, right? Always like this. Here's another example, going back to sharks. The sand tiger shark. All sharks have a uterus that has 2 sides. It's called a bifurcated uterus. The 2 horns, the 2 sides converge at the birth canal, but there's basically 2 sides of the uterus. Okay? So in the sand tiger shark, the females, they will start, when they mate, they'll mate, and then they will start with dozens of embryos developing on each side of their uterus. But as those embryos grow, inevitably some are growing faster than others, and it gets to the point where the embryos, the older ones, start eating their brothers and sisters in the womb. This is called intrauterine cannibalism, within the uterus cannibalism. And so this cannibalism proceeds inside of the mother until there is just 1 pup left on each side. So even though she starts with dozens of embryos, the maximum litter size that sand tiger sharks can have, 2. And that makes them very vulnerable to conservation, right? Or very vulnerable to population decline, so they only have 2 pups at a time. Again, the question is, why is this necessary? Last one. Another bird. Birds are very interesting behaviorally. Cuckoo birds. Cuckoos are obligate brood parasites. That means they don't raise their own offspring. They sucker another species of bird to do it for them. In fact, they can't. They are incapable of raising their own offspring. Even if a host is not available, they just die. They can't. They're not going to have any offspring. So the cuckoo mama, when she's ready to lay her egg, she looks around. I have to act this one out too. She's looking around, and she spots a host. Nice nest, nice pair of birds, nice parents. They just laid their own 4 eggs, maybe. Happy parents, right? They're very excited about their 4 little chicks. Well, they still got to eat. So from time to time, the parents go off to get a bite to eat for themselves or to bring back some twigs or things to tidy up the nest and get it all ready for the chicks when they hatch in a couple weeks. So the cuckoo mama's watching this, and when those parents leave the nest, she swoops in, swallows one of the host eggs, lays one of her eggs in place, and gets out of there all in about 5 to 10 seconds. Before the hosts even realize what has happened. The cuckoo's eggs are a perfect mimic of the host's eggs. The same color, the same spotting pattern. They're a little bigger. That's the only way you can tell the difference. But those host parents, when they come back, no clue what just happened. They still see 4 eggs, all is well. The cuckoo chick, though, hatches first. They just develop faster and they hatch first. The naked blind cuckoo chick, you can imagine this, this pink featherless bird that just hatched. The first thing it does is it evicts the other 3 eggs. Its host foster siblings, I don't know what you want to call them, but it evicts the other eggs, which kills them. So now it's the cuckoo chick all by itself.